means. Does that mean that she's saying that she doesn't have opportunity for overtime? Because that's okay. Or does that mean that she's saying that if you work overtime, you're not getting paid it because she doesn't pay it? And then in her little mind, she thinks, okay, she thinks because she's making up her own world, she thinks that if we have this agreement and you signed a paper stating that you are acknowledging that she doesn't pay overtime. So if you work it, you don't get paid it, and you acknowledged it and you agreed to it. So then if you do work overtime, you don't get paid it. And that's what she's thinking. Well, she's wrong, because if you work overtime, you get paid it. So I don't know what that means. I would have to know from that person, what does that mean? If it means I don't have opportunity for overtime, fine, that's fine. If it means you work overtime, I'm not paying it, and by you signing this, you're agreeing to the fact that I'm not paying it, well, that doesn't hold up in court. So if I work overtime, you are paying it. You don't get a choice. So we'll talk about that one. Then here's another one. You guys say we sign we sign break waivers. So first of all, there's a difference between breaks and meals. Breaks and meals. So if we're talking about breaks and you're signing a break waiver, what does that mean? Does that mean that you're just acknowledging that you do get your breaks, but you're providing general supervision? Is that what that means? Because you do get your breaks. If you don't get your breaks, you get paid you get an hour of regular pay. If I don't get my break, you're paying me an hour of regular pay, and you don't have a choice because that's the law. So I don't know what a break waiver means. I'm thinking it means that I'm acknowledging that I am taking my breaks, but I'm also providing general supervision. And that's fine. Anything other, it's not. We'll talk about meals later, because yes, I can do an on-duty lunch. Yes, I can. But I have to be provided the meal. So there's that. And then here's another one that I'm going to address. On the knock shift, people will have people clock out at 11:58 and then back in at 12:02. Why? Why? Why are we doing that? And then people go, oh, because the day started over. The day for who? The day for who? Because remember, all industries, they have their own language. And there's a definition for a day, which we'll be going over. And then when we see the definition for the day, if somebody can make sense as to why they clock out at 11:58 and back in at 12:02, I would love you to explain that to me, because my mind has not grasped it yet. And this is just people making up their own stuff. If you make up your own stuff and you get an employee who's empowered, you're going down, and rightfully so. And rightfully so. Okay? There's a wage order and a labor code that must be followed. And you guys also have to follow Title 8 regulations, which are OSHA, Cal OSHA regulations. And I'd rather get cited by licensing all day long than OSHA, because OSHA's fines are in the thousands, Okay? All right. So again, 17 different workforce industries. We are wage order 5. Clerical people are wage order 4. If it's in there, you can do it. If it's not, you can't. Now, about 85% of the wage orders are the same in all the industries. And then 15% of it goes strictly down to that specific wage order, because that specific industry, the wage order knows what we do. They know what we do. Okay. I did put some things in here. I hyperlinked some things in here that you would need to know. It says 2023 right here, but this is actually paperwork that you have to do for COVID. So COVID, do you remember how I said that OSHA says the employer has to put precautions in place to protect the employee from workplace hazards? So in the first 10 days of hiring somebody, you have to offer them the hepatitis B vaccination, because in our industry, we're at high risk for getting hepatitis B. If they decline the vaccination, then they sign a paper declining it, and you keep it in their personnel file at the home. If they come back to you 6 months later and they say, I want this, then you have to provide it for them, because it's a workplace hazard. Well, when COVID came out, that became a workplace hazard. And so the employer had some things that they had to do to protect the employees. But now that COVID has relaxed a little bit and has been downgraded, okay, so then there are things that got put and then things that went away. So this one's hyperlinked, and this is some paperwork you have to keep through February. See, February 2026. So I put this all right here for you guys so that you can stay on top of the COVID stuff because you don't want to get in trouble with that. And again, you'll have some paperwork that you have to keep through February 3rd, 2026. So I hyperlinked that in there for you. Okay. So we got to stay on top of these kind of things. Okay. Thank you, Jess, for letting me know. Thank you, Jess. Thank you for letting me know. Do you have to buy health insurance for your employees? So right back up here, where did I put that in here? Didn't I put that in here for health insurance right here? Health insurance. No, you don't have to buy health insurance unless you have 50 full-time employees, then yes, or you'll get a tax penalty. Although smaller companies tend to offer it just for incentive, and they also get cheaper rates for themselves also because they need insurance too. So you do not have to, but it is considered a perk. And it also gets you health insurance at a cheaper rate as well. See, I put that right here. So a lot of this stuff is straightforward. I don't hit every bit of it because it's all straightforward. In our industry, we do not, okay, oh wait, before we get moving, myself is going to say this. What we're talking about here is private sector. Government has their own requirements. Okay, so this, what we're talking about is private sector. Government has their own payroll rules. Also, nonprofit. Nonprofit has a little bit of different payroll rules as well. You have to be careful with nonprofit. If you're working with nonprofit, you have to be careful. And I would be looking it up myself if I was working for a nonprofit because they tend to lie. Not all of them, but they do tend to lie. How do I know? Because you guys come through my class. When minimum wage went from 1550 went from 15 to 1550, I had people coming through my class going, "We're nonprofit," and they're saying that they don't have to pay us the minimum wage. That's a lie. That is a lie. Every person is entitled to the minimum wage, at least the minimum wage. So that was a total lie. And I just spent my whole entire lunch break coming up with that so I could show her because it was a total lie. Okay, so this is called private sector, what we're going through right now. Okay, just want to make sure that we all know that. Private sector. Okay, alternative work schedule. So a normal work day is an 8-hour shift. A normal work day is an 8-hour shift. We can have alternative work schedules. We can. But you have to have agreements when you have alternative work schedules. There has to be agreements. Now, what is an alternative work schedule? It's where they're going to work, basically, they're going to work overtime in a day and not get paid for it in exchange for so many days off in a row. Again, if it's in the wage order, you can do it. If it's not in the wage order, then you cannot do it. Now, if you're not already on a work schedule when you first start and you want to go to one, you now want to go to an alternative work schedule. Well, then you have to post note. You have to let everyone know that you want to go to an alternative work schedule. You have to post notice for it. And you're going to have a voting day. And then when they vote, it has to be in a sealed box with a slit at the top because it's a ballot vote. And it's a secret ballot vote. So then they put it inside the box, and then a third party company has to be hired and brought in to unseal the box, count the votes, and then 2/3 wins. And then you have to report it to California Labor and Statistics. Okay. So an alternative work schedule, an example of an alternative work schedule would be like somebody working 10-hour days in a row. So that's getting their 40 hours, right, in 4 days in exchange for 3 days off in a row. But they're not getting paid the overtime. That's what an alternative work schedule is. And there's other kinds of alternative work schedules too, like the 12-hour and the 24-hour shift, but there are provisions around those. If it's in the wage order, you can do it. If it's not, you can't. So before do an alternative work schedule, you need to read through the wage order and make sure you do it right. Because if you don't do it right, you could get taken to the labor board and that will cost you money, which could put you right on out of business. Okay? And I'm not kidding here. My poor students get it. You guys get it. And all I want to say to you when you guys get it, I refrain from saying it. I do. But all I want to say is, I told you. I told you. Why didn't you listen to me? I told you. Why didn't you listen to me? Why? Why? That's all I want to do. But instead, I just tell you the answer and go, well, remember, we talked about it. That's all I can say. But I just want to go, why? I set you up in the good, positive way. Why didn't you listen to me? You know? So I'm not kidding on this. And every single one of you should know the wage order. So I'm going to show you in the booklet why. Look, let me show you. Well, not that you should know it, but it should be available to you. So right here in your guys' booklet, I gave you some screenshots. So right here, this is the front of the wage order. This is the title page of the wage order. This is the title page. And look what it says on it. This order must be posted where employees can read it easily. Although they don't read it, although they should. So I'm not really asking you the question, but I am asking you the question, but I'm not. You don't have to answer it. I want you to think about it. If you're already working inside of our industry, is the wage order posted where you work? You don't have to answer that. I'm just saying, right here, it's supposed to be. And if it is not, and they get an audit and it's not there, get ready for a hefty fine. Yeah, going to get fined for that. So right here, this order must be posted where employees can read it easily. Needs to be posted. Okay? So make sure those of you opening a home, make sure you post it. Because why would you chunk a whole bunch of money into something that you could lose because you didn't do something right or you didn't follow the law? It's baffling to me. Okay, before we go to a break, I'm going to pop us down. I want us to go just through this part right here first. Well, and we're going to do a little exercise real quick and then we'll have a break. I won't take too long, I don't think. So we do not have independent contractors. We don't have independent contractors. We have hourly employees. Okay. There's definitions for things and people don't seem to understand that. How many vacation hours does an employee accumulate in a year for a small facility? That's a company policy. That's a company policy. They don't even have to give you a vacation if they don't want to. That's a company policy. That's a perk. That's a benefit. Okay. There's no law on that. They don't have to give you a vacation if they don't want to. It's their company policy. So we don't have independent contractors. There's a definition for independent contractor. An independent, and that's what they were doing like in the 90s and stuff. In our industry, they just always messed everything up. Okay. They just wheeled and dealed. And so like back in the 90s, people would hire people as independent contractors so they wouldn't have to pay the payroll taxes or the workers' comp on them. But guess what? There was a definition for independent contractor. Okay, so all of our employees, they are hourly employees. So when you own somebody's time and what they do, that's an hourly employee. An independent contractor, you don't own their time and you don't own what they do. So that would be like the consultant that you have to contract with for their services. Let's say that you couldn't meet a resident's needs. Before you can evict them, you have to bring in a consultant to help you see if you can meet those needs. That consultant would be an independent contractor. You don't own their time. They'll let you know when they can show up. You don't own what they do either. They're the ones that are going to come in and they're going to do, they went to school for that. A behavioralist of some sort. Okay? So that's an independent contractor. All of your direct care staff, all of them, Those are all hourly employees because there's definitions for things. So those are all hourly employees. Now they can be salary when they're management employees. Okay. So they're management supervisory employees managing the whole thing, right? And the other employees. So if they're management, then they can be on salary, but they're still entitled to the overtime. Salaried employees are entitled to overtime unless they make the exempt amount. And right now, until January 1st, because then it's going to go up to $16.50, minimum wage is going to go to $16.50. So right now, though, the minimum wage is $16 an hour. So in order for somebody to be exempt, if somebody's a salaried employee and they make the exempt amount, then they're not entitled to overtime. If they make less than the exempt amount, then they are entitled to overtime. So the exempt amount is an annual salary of double minimum wage. And then some cities actually have higher minimum wages. So you have to go on whatever your city is. So like, for instance, San Jose, Silicon Valley, San Jose, they have a higher minimum wage. They're like 17 something. Okay. So whatever your city is. So if somebody is making the exempt amount and they're on salary, then they're not entitled to the overtime. If they make 1 penny less, then they are. So right now, in this exact moment, for another week or two, okay, that's $66,560 annually. They'd have to make $66,560 annually in order to be exempt from overtime. 1 penny less than that, they're entitled to it. Now, this is how the payroll rules go. Oh, I don't know if I ever made that happen. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Nobody told me. All right, I'm just right here. Anything over 8 hours in a day. This, oh no, wait, I also like to say this. Some people go like this. You only have to follow the state law. And my thing would be this. Well, why are you saying that? Who told you that? Did you see it in writing? Did you see it with your own eyes? Did you see it where it said you only have to follow the state law? Did you? Or did somebody just tell you that? Why are you listening to people? You got to see it with your own eyes. Yes, yes, you do have to follow the state law. You're correct. You do. But you also have to follow the federal. And then some people think you just have to follow the federal. Why? Why do you think that? Why? Why? Did you see it for yourself in writing? No. No, you didn't, because it's not there. We have to follow both the state and the federal. We have to follow them both. And the state is called wage and hour. And the federal is called DOL, Department of Labor. And you have to follow them both. Okay? The thing is the state is per day and the federal is per week. So you're following the state law first because that's per day and it takes 7 days to make a week, but you're still following them both. So here's how they go, the payroll rules. And it's just a checklist. Anything over 8 hours in a day is time and a half. That's a state law. Anything over 12 hours in a day, that's double time. That's a state law. Anything over 40 hours in a week is time and a half. That is a federal law. And then if somebody works 7 days in a row in a work week, 7 days in a row in a work week, on the 7th day, the first 8 hours is time and a half, and anything over 8 hours is double time. But the work week can be anything. Usually the work week gets started when you first start business. So in that first week, you're going to establish your work week. And then once you establish your work week, then it stays that. Okay. So some people have their work week start on Sunday and end on Saturday. So their work week goes Sunday through Saturday. If you look in the booklet, those work weeks start on Monday because that's how I would design my work week. So it starts on Monday and ends on Sunday. So that way, the way I look at it is I got the week and the weekends. That's how I'd be doing it. Okay. Because I'd be doing it differently a little bit. Maybe you start your business on a Thursday. So then your work week starts on Thursday and ends on Wednesday. It could be that weird. So I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you how you can work somebody 10 days in a row without paying the overtime. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to do that. Do I suggest you do that? Heck no, I don't. You do not want to burn out your employees because you'd have a responsibility in it. I'm just showing it to you just to show the work week. Okay. So in this booklet, these little things right here. Let's just come down to this one right here because I'm going to show you how you can work somebody 10 days in a row just to show you what a work week is. That's all. And by the way, we also have a pay date. We have to pay by the pay date. You can't be late paying people because then you'll have to pay damage money. Now there's a little bit of a discrepancy. Like if you were going to be late, like they give you like a little tiny bit of hours. I don't remember because it was back in, 1990 when I was going to school for this. Well, I started when I was 15, but when I got real deep into the payroll and stuff, that was in 1990. And okay, so it goes, there's so many days. Like it's definitely not, it might be 48 hours. It's definitely not more than 72 if they're late paying you. Okay, but if they're any more than whatever the time frame is, then you get damage money. Yeah, this way people have to pay you, right? And not put it off and ruin your life. Okay, so this is the work week. Look, it doesn't matter the hours and the days because that's not what I'm showing you. The work week starts on Monday and it ends on Sunday. So right here, they have the first 2 days off. Then they start on Wednesday and they work the last 5 days in the work week. Now the work week starts over. And in the second work week, they work the first 5 days and they have the last 2 days off. So they work 10 days in a row. But the reason why they're not getting paid overtime on the seventh day is because the work week started over. It would have to be all 7 days in a work week in order for that seventh day to be the first 8 hours time and a half, and anything over 8 hours is double time. So let's just play for a minute. Okay, so let me run down the payroll rules for you again. Anything over 8 hours in a day is time and a half. Anything over 12 hours in a day is double time. Okay, anything over 40 hours in a week is time and a half. And then on seventh day in a work week, the first 8 hours is time and a half, and anything over 8 is double. And you have the payroll rules in your little booklet. Where did I put it? Oh, it's not right here. It's in the labor law sheet. It's in your labor law sheet. Okay, let's do this first week. Monday, they're 10 hours. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 hours. They're off Saturday, Sunday. They work 5 days that week. They work 42 hours in that week. Do we owe them overtime? What do you say? Do we owe them overtime? What do you say? Do we owe them overtime? What do you say? Okay, we're gonna break it down. And I'm missing like I don't know, 5 of you. On Monday, they work 10 hours, so there's 2 hours over 8 right there. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they worked 8 hours, nothing there. Saturday, Sunday, they were off. They worked 5 days that week. So they worked 42 hours. That's 2 hours over 40. So they owe 2 hours for Monday per the state, right? Per the state. But then they work 42 hours in the week. So they also have 2 hours of overtime per the federal. We just owe them 2 hours. That's it. We just owe them 2 hours. That's it. But we're going to meet it the state way and the federal way. Okay. Now let's do this one. They worked 10 hours on Monday. They worked 8 hours on Tuesday. They worked 4 hours on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They were off on Sunday. They worked 6 days. That's okay. They worked 34 hours that week. Do we owe them overtime? Okay, so we have a lot of yeses and a lot of nos, and a yeses and nos. Well, we have to just break it down. On Monday, they worked 10 hours. That's 2 hours over 8 right there per the state. So per the state, we owe them 2 hours for Monday right there. They worked 8 hours on Tuesday, nothing there. They worked 4 hours on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, nothing there. They were off on Sunday. They worked 6 days that week. That's totally fine. They worked 34 hours that week. So per the federal, we do not owe them overtime per the federal. But per the state, we do. So we owe them 2 hours of overtime because of Monday. We're just going to meet it the state way. We're not going to meet it the federal way, but we're going to meet it the state way. We still owe them the 2 hours of overtime. We're just not going to meet it the federal way. That's all. So you follow the state more than you follow the federal, but you have to follow them both. Okay. Now let's do this one right here. They worked 10 hours on Monday. They worked 8 hours on Tuesday. They worked 4 hours on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then they worked 12 hours on Sunday. They worked 7 days that week. They worked 46 hours. How much overtime do we owe them? And is there any double time in it? How many hours of overtime do we owe them? And is there any double time in it? I've got some people really working it close, Oscar, close. Close, Dodie. Really close. Okay, ready? There's 14 hours of overtime. 4 of it is double. There's 14 hours of overtime here, and 4 of it is double time. So remember, when somebody works 7 days in a work week, that 7th day is all overtime. The first 8 hours is time and a half, and anything over 8 is double. So this 12 hours right here is all overtime. So the 12 hours plus the 2 hours on Monday makes 14 hours. And then the first 8 hours here plus, oh my God. Okay, so the 8 hours here, right? The first 8 hours is time and a half, plus the 2 hours on Monday makes 10 hours of time and a half. And then there's 4 hours over 8 here, which is double. So 12 and 2 is 14. 10 of it is time and a half, and 4 of it is double time. See? See how that goes? All right. We will leave that right there. And then when we come back from the break, first thing I'm going to tell you, I'm going to talk to you about the other little things that I want to talk to you about. Then we're going to get into meals and breaks. And then we're going to talk about the 12-hour shift, the 24-hour shift. I mean, when we come back, we're going to talk about some those things that I wanted to go over with you. And then we're going to talk about meals and breaks, the 12-hour shift, and the 24 and the live-in.